morning, and welcome to Think and Grow Rich MasterMind Live. And yes, we are live. I'm Ursula Odom, your co-host for this morning. And boy, do we have a wonderful show for you today because it's gonna be live. And that's because of the guests we have. Oh my goodness. And I am going to be joined by my co-hosts, Galen Bingham, Dr. Peter A. James, and Ann McNeil. And we're going to be talking to the wonderful Donald L. Dowridge. So, what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about specialized knowledge. And this is where we get to break it down and figure out how do we become focused on the things that really will make us achieve our dreams, be that money, spiritual realization, or whatever those dreams happen to be. You know, we talk about being a jack of all trades, but a master of none. Well, specialized knowledge tells us that knowledge comes in two different forms. One is general knowledge, and the other is specialized. General knowledge is that which someone may teach. Professors are wonderful at telling you what to do, but they haven't done it in a lot of cases. Not all cases, but in a lot of cases. And that means that the specialization that it takes to actually achieve and amass wealth is not focused on. It's giving you the broad brush. So we're going to go deep into this today as we talk about specialized knowledge from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So I mentioned Donald L. Dowridge. Well, who is he? He is the founder and CEO of DLD, which is Determined to Learn and Develop Enterprise, established in 1992. Celebrating 28 years as the ultimate motivational guru, DLD is ambitious in creating new dimensions of motivation for those seeking achieving the positive advantages of their life. Dreams to reality. That's his motto. His inspiring messages deliver feasible avenues to the pinnacle of success. This guru has carved out a blazing path of mentoring, facilitating, keynote speaking, and empowerment throughout America. Donald Dowridge received his degree from Tampa College in marketing management, as well as he's a proud father and grandfather. He's a member of Bible-based Fellowship Church in Tampa and an active member of the 100 Black Men of Tampa Bay, Hillsborough County Public School Black History Committee, the Hillsborough County chapter of ASALA, Hillsborough County NAACP, and a lifetime member of Black Professional Men in Baltimore, Maryland. Now that tells you just a little bit about him. See, I know some other things about Donald, but you'll find out more about him because he also presents himself in the form of another person that is a historical character. But once you see him, you'll know who I'm talking about. Welcome, Donald. Let them see who you are.
Good morning.
Good morning. And just so to clear up the mystery, I know him as Frederick Douglass. Now, don't you see it? Can't you believe it? When you see him perform, you will. So, Donald, tell us a little bit about you and how you came to know about Think and Grow Rich. And then I'll introduce our co-host since I gave you that opportunity.
Well, first of all, I want to say good morning, Ursula, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be on the show this morning. I am truly inspired and moved to have this opportunity. Having the opportunity to engulf Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill came about, believe it or not, when I was looking for a transformation within my life, when I was looking to transform from that other person to this new person. I had the opportunity, I was invited out to an Amway meeting, and as I was taking my seat and being the person that I am, there are no strangers to me. I walked up, I was sitting, and a gentleman came and sat next to me, and his name was, believe it or not, Donald, as mine. And we began to chat. And, I guess throughout my receiving of him and my responses, he just said, uh, you're a young gentleman that's sitting on a launching pad. And he just started counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then he asked me, have I ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Napoleon Hill? And I said, no, I've never heard of him. So he said that, well, he produced a book, Think and Grow Rich. I said, okay. And he said, you look like the perfect gentleman who would prosper from this book. This book would take you into the next hemisphere in your life, and whatever you're looking for, it's in that book. So I said, okay. And to be honest with you, I didn't rush out and purchase the book. It took me a little time before I got it because I was still in the mode of, seeking. And to be honest with you, I think I had just retired from the post office at 39 years old, or I could have still been at the post office and seeking to make a change. And I had just received my degree in marketing management from Tampa College. From there, like I said, I began to venture out because I was at the post office and I was feeling stuck. I was feeling like I was in a grind, even though I had made great achievements, becoming the first Black manager of a department there at the post office. But I wanted more. There was more out there for me, and I just didn't know where it was. However, and I have to give thanks to my son, and I give him thanks because in 1992, he invited me to speak to his 5th grade class. And God works in mysterious ways. And upon speaking in the class, the teacher came up to me and he whispered in my ear and he said, look, I need to excuse myself from the room. Can you handle it? And I said, sure. And next thing I know, and it was on a Friday, my mind was, okay, I'm doing my father duties. So tomorrow, which was Saturday, matter of fact, today is Saturday, and my intentions were to become the first Black postmaster of the Hillsborough County Postal Service. Well, when I got home that evening, I had 5 messages on my voicemail. And these 5 messages were from different schools inviting me out, so to speak. So that was the tipping point, the turning point, and if you will, the revelation that God had another plan for me. And eventually, moving forward, I would get my hands on Think and Grow Rich, and I also got my hands on Daily Motivations for African Americans. Dennis Kimbrough. And I will say that between those 2 books, they played an intimate role in who I would become in this thing called life. I intimately, from that point to where we are now, 29 years later, I still, off and on, I go back and I tune into Mr. Hill. And because I'm always moving and out here doing what I do, I do the YouTube, if you will, to stay up, to, just to refresh myself. Because for me, it's been a journey. It's been a journey for me, all jokes aside. And I'm so thankful that I've had the opportunity in these 64 years to make something, if you will. I'll use a lesser to make something of myself, despite the many who believed that my life would end at an early age, um, and that was simply because of coming through the tumultuous situations that I was put through. And as Mr. Hill says, that there's two envelopes. There's the negative envelope and there's the positive envelope. Even though I was born on November the 28th, 1956, Thanksgiving Day, 6:20 a.m. Thanksgiving, I look at it as, that's the time that, we give thanks, and that we give from our heart. Well, on that day, I was born. However, um, 2 years later, after my birth, my sisters and I, we were unfortunately left alone on a street corner in Baltimore, and all three of us wound up being split, if you will, through foster care. Now, my two sisters, they went to a foster home that adopted them all the way through until they aged out at 18 years old. Well, unfortunately, with myself, I wound up going through five tumultuous, and when I say tumultuous, foster homes. And to be honest with you, I just wish the way that the society is today in reference to how we must treat our children, how we must love our children. I wish that type of situation was going on when I was coming through in my child years. Um,
So I have to ask you, um, how did what you've learned, like fast forward,
okay.
you are successful. You're doing some wonderful things. You broke that cycle.
Yes.
Um, so there are people out there that are wanting to know, especially as it relates to Think and Grow Rich, what nuggets from there would you now go back and give to those young people to help them survive and thrive? Because and I tell you what makes me think about this. I just put something together to celebrate Mary McLeod Bethune and some of the things that she learned. And in there, she talked about Booker T. Washington. And Booker T. Washington talked about a person that stood up in a conference and basically said, I had a dog, but that dog didn't do me no good. So I traded it for a pig. And the pig had litters, so she 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 sold them and made money. Then she used that money to buy a cow, and the cow had milk. And then she sold the milk for land, and then that land she plant vegetables on, and then she made money. So when you look back on the things that you put together that got you from where you were to where you are, what were your pivotal points that said, okay, this is my dog, this is the thing that was my milk that gave me the ability to buy so I could go and I can learn and I can do. So it sounds as if one of them was that day in that class.
Well, um, imagination. Just to speak on one of the points, imagination is a bad boy, if I can say that. And I've been gifted. I realize that I've been gifted with the knack of imagination and talents and gifts. So one of the things that I share with young people when I'm before them, or even adults, is the fact that we all have those gifts, we have those talents, we have imagination, and to play on imagination, because this thing here inside of my skull, it shows me tremendous amount of opportunities. And the mere fact of, if you just tune into that opportunity that sits up in here and bring it to fruition, everybody, even speaking on this laptop, the speaking through this modem, if you will, somebody had an idea and they brought this idea to realization. And now here we are, we're using this. So we are, through imagination, we are working on those gifts that are stored within inside of us. So one thing I attempt to tell young people and adults is that never fray to the point that I cannot be successful, because that success lies within you. And I am guilty in my past of saying, it won't work. I can't be successful. I don't know. But the moral of the story is I had to get away from the number one selling quote in the world. Or, they say the Bible is the number one selling book. They say Think and Grow Rich is the number one book. Well, I'm here to say both of those are not. What is number one is if I woulda, shoulda, coulda. Number two, I regret, because of the mere fact that, a lot of us don't step out on those dreams and those goals and those aspirations that tick within us. And then on the flip side of it, and I'm only speaking from experience, and yes, I read the book, is that if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then I get irritated because of the fact that I'm letting a dream, I'm letting a goal, I'm letting some aspiration seep out from me that I should be using to, if you will, pour into the world to make the place, to make this a better place, if you will. I'll give you an example. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hold that thought. We want the example, but there are a couple of things we need to take care of. And one is to help our audience understand the big picture.
Yes, ma'am.
About what we're talking about, because see, we're getting in real deep about it, and my co-host they can't wait to get into this conversation. So let's start with Galen. Galen, tell us about the 13 steps, and then we'll let them ask you questions that they cannot wait to do.
Yeah, so great conversation already. I mean, he's already touching on so many of the principles to Napoleon Hill's success philosophy. And the thing that I like about this is that it is an entire complete philosophy. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and watch the video so we can understand all 13, how these sit on top of each other. And then that way we can get in deeper to this conversation about specialized knowledge. So let's go ahead and go to all 13 principles.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the MasterMind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the Wild Wild West days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of Step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
Okay, now you have it. And what I'd like to do now is to say welcome and thank you for being a part of this show this morning to our audience, Doretha, Regina, Sherry, Bonnie, Misty. And Doretha actually has a question that I think would lead into something that would allow our co-hosts to ask their questions. And that is, what type of specialized knowledge have you acquired recently, Mr. Donald?
Well, that would fall in the area of branching out from, if you will, from, since we say it nowadays, the old normal to the new normal. And I say that in the sense that when I say the new normal is that gaining new knowledge and new opportunities that will further enhance myself and enhance DLD, determine, learn, and develop. Just having the opportunity to step out of the rim, because sometimes, how can I say it? You know, I after doing or engaging myself into the motivational rim, the speaking rim, the Frederick Douglass rim, you know, some things can become just normal. So with that, you know, now I'm looking at how can I take what I'm doing to the next level. And I will share this though. During my course of having COVID and being in the hospital, that gave me plenty of time to reevaluate myself, reevaluate those or my circle, if you will, those that are around me, to reevaluate my goals, to reevaluate where I wish to take DLD in such a new level. And coming up with that, I put into play now a different aspect that will attract more to not just myself, take me out the picture, but attract more of my, if you will, I guess I'm using the wrong word, my customer base, to draw them in and to use that knowledge that I've gained. And let me sidebar real quick. I know we're talking about Napoleon Hill, but to me, I can't speak about him unless I speak about the late great Miles Monroe in such a fashion that where I am in my age bracket right now, I am in that age bracket where it is a must that all the knowledge that I've gained through the years, that I fall into the realm where I am disseminating this education, this knowledge to the next up and coming generation, if you will. So in terms of specialized knowledge, I use that new knowledge that I'm gaining, not more so for myself, as I stated earlier, but I want to make sure that I'm reaching out to those generations that are coming up behind me and share that knowledge that was and that knowledge that is, so they can move out on their platforms and begin to institute their greatness to the world.
So, on that note, the master builder, I'm sure she has a few things that she could say about that as well. Ann McNeil, would you join the conversation?
Oh my goodness. Listen, first of all, thank you, Doretha, for the question. I want to go back to the beginning as Ursula shared with us a little bit about what is specialized knowledge, and she talked about the two types. And I just want to share from Napoleon Hill, and I'm appreciative of Mr. Monroe also, and also one of my favorites, of course, that's perched behind me. We won't start talking about him. We'll talk about that on another show. But I just want to come back to the point that Napoleon Hill shows that knowledge will not attract money. And so as we talk about our guest and how he utilizes his knowledge, Hill shares that unless this knowledge is organized in an intelligent and directed way to a definite end. My question, I'm going to go to a question, Ursula, for the guests, and that is, if your desired end for your knowledge, if it is in fact to accumulate money. And I ask that question because Napoleon Hill tells us that the lack of the understanding, if you will, and this is for all of our guests, we have a lot of people listening to the show, and we want to let them know that this particular principle we're discussing today is specialized knowledge. And we want to make sure that we all understand that that knowledge must be organized. And I want to go back to chapter 1, where Napoleon Hill talks about a desire. Then he tells us about the need of faith and the affirmation. But in that desire, he asks us, how much money do you want? By when? Doing what? And my question for you, coming back to your specialized knowledge and how you use it, going to the question that was asked by Doretha, do you use your specialized knowledge for the accumulation of money? Now, I already heard what you said about being in the hospital and having COVID and all of that. Is it for the purpose of also acquiring money? That's my question.
Okay, and that is a great question. That's a great question. Um, as you know, money makes the world go round, and I have been blessed to reap in that category. However, I must go back to my early years when it was stated to me upon getting into the field of motivation and helping others. It was stated to me that, if you're coming into this realm, this world, solely for the purpose of reaping finances, then maybe you need to stay back where you are. Yes, I do what I do. However, the moral of my story is that, when I'm out doing what I do it at 150%, meaning that I love doing what I do. And what I do, it comes from my heart. It comes from the fact that someone gave me an opportunity to really step out and do something that inspires somebody else. It's like the gentleman told me years ago. When they come in my hand, and when I say that, the audience, when they're in my hand, one thing that was stated to me is never to close it, but if anything, spread it, because you are filling them with opportunity. You are touching their heart. You are touching their fiber. So, and I will say that, over the years, and even with Mr. Hill stating that, going for the gold, the GOAL and the GOLD, in both premises, I have reached more so my GOAL more so than I've reached the GOLD. And to be honest with you, I look at and I might have a different take, so forgive me, but I look at the GOAL more importantly than I look at the GOLD. And I do that because the GOLD to me is perks, whereas the GOAL is the fruition, the strength that gives me why. It gives me the why I do what I do. When we started the show, which I'm doing now, here it is right here. This is the definition of my GOAL, my goal. When I'm standing before that audience and I'm firing up that audience, whether or not I'm Donald Dowridge or I am Frederick Douglass, when I look out in that audience and I see their reaction, that tells me, again, that I am reaching my GOAL. And yes, after it's all said and done, my GOLD will be handed to me. So one thing I realized, the GOLD, it will disappear, but my GOAL will stay with me forever and ever, because that is part of my affirmation. That is part of my reaching my desires and reaching my heart, making my heart jump for joy. And when I get in my car and I'm leaving that destination, I'm thinking back for a second with a gigantic smile on my face, not because of the GOLD, but because of the GOAL.
Thank you so very much. Now I'm going to go back to, actually, Ursula, if you don't mind, I'd like to go to Peter, because he has this grin on his face from ear to ear, and I know he is just rearing to ask his question. Once he comes off mute.
I am learning how to spell this morning. That's actually what's going on with me. Good stuff, Mr. Donald. I'm loving this conversation. I'm loving to hear how you have digested this Think and Grow Rich book into your life, how you especially utilize it lately in your life. I've heard about this knowledge thing as well that you even mentioned, the education that you've even gotten along the way. Page 75 of this great book in chapter 4 of Specialized Knowledge talks about the problem with education in our lives. Ooh, is a problem. So I guess here's where I'm going with it. Many of us on this set here, as well as those of us who are watching, we've heard that get your education, get your education, get your education, get your knowledge. And it's even been conveyed to us that this knowledge is going to be the key to our success. This education is going to be the key to our success. Napoleon Hill says, and on this page 75, the missing link in all the systems of our education known to civilization may be found in the failure of educational institutions to teach their students how to organize and use the knowledge after they acquire it. Donald, it sounds like you figured that out. Do you mind sharing with us really briefly how you've been able to utilize it and even how you're utilizing it today?
Sure. And allow me to say, which I have not said, and I do apologize, Doctor, to all the other co-hosts who have asked me questions. Good morning. Allow me to go back, since we're talking about the educational aspect and educational institutions. I just happen to be one of those students who had great issues in coming through these educational institutions called public schools. I spent the majority of my time in these schools. Instead of in the classroom, I spent them outside or home, or because I was either expelled, playing hooky, left back. And a lot of that wasn't so much of, I guess, because I wasn't a learner. It was more so because of, just issues that I was going through at the time. And even, I didn't get my high school diploma until I was 21. I didn't get my degree until I was 40. And I was moved to get the degree basically because of the fact that, it's something that I can marvel at when I look at it. It's something, it's accomplishment, something I've done in this life that somebody said I would never do. So, I broke the stereotype for myself, if you will. While you were speaking, believe it or not, Mr. Dave Thomas came to mind. And if you know the story of Mr. Dave Thomas with Wendy's, here's a gentleman, 8th grade education. And look what he's done, without a high school diploma. And please, before I go forth, I'm not shunning education. By all means, we need to have an education, but it's what you do with that education. It's like Mr. Hill says, knowledge is power, but if you don't use it, what good is it? So Mr. Thomas, he comes to mind, like many others who made it without that high school diploma. And then there's many who made it through without that degree. They are multimillionaires. And if they're not multimillionaires that we read about or hear about, they are successful, just successful individuals in this life that have figured out, as you say the word, that have figured out how to make life work for them. So one thing that I tell, and people say, Don, you crazy. One thing I know, and we all know, that I'm going to die. However, the knowledge that I have, I'm going to work this knowledge to the best of my ability until that day that, it's time for me to leave. And I tell people that there's never been an earthquake in Florida, but on that day when it's time for when it's time for me, there's going to be an earthquake, because of the fact that, I'm not just going to, and I'm not now just going to lay down and say, okay, it's time for me to go. When you talk about the knowledge, there are rims, and I keep using that word, rims of doors that opens, and it invites us in. As a matter of fact, I am looking at a rim on my laptop. I can go anywhere. I can read about anything that I desire, and I can educate myself on whichever desire I wish to learn in this life to use to my advantage. And using that, I've had the opportunity, and when I say I'm talking about your listeners, your viewers, and people all over who are contemplating, what should I do? How can I get out of what's my next move? Just using the opportunity to enhance will allow them, myself, you, to take yourself to the next plateau of your desires. I believe it said that, we only use 10%, but then I think about, we only use 10% of our nugget, if you will. And I think about those that are using the 13, the 15, the 17, the 20, the 30% of their brain. And, I look up at them. And the reason I say I look up at them, because guess what? Because of the fact that they have bear down and began to use the extra portion of their brain that is asleep on most people, they have advanced. They have advanced in all their dreams. They have advanced in opening them doors, and not just open them, but going through those doors to achieve those GOALS goals of their life, their destination. We read about many people who have come through this thing called life, and how they started off as opposed to how they ended. We read about their journeys. So as we read their journeys, what journeys are you laying down? What tracks are you laying down that somebody else will one day might discover and say, hey, he or she had the keys, and I like that. I like to have those keys in my pocket so that I could open up my new door, so that I can open up the door to my new ride, so I can open up the door to my new family, So
I like that. Like that, Mr. Donald. I truly appreciate that. I like those keys, which open up the doors to the GOAL as well.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Ursula, before I finish, I want to talk about the annual meeting. Is this a good time?
It's a great time.
Awesome stuff. Mr. Donald, one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is masterminds. And I know you are familiar with this because you are familiar with Napoleon Hill. And in this mastermind philosophy, we value the collective mind of more than one individual. In this case, as you see on our screen, we have 5 collective brains that are making my path to the GOAL much better. That being said, we also are holding an annual accountability meeting every single year. And at the end of this year, actually at the beginning of 2022, it will be no different. And those of you who are watching us right now, I implore you, I encourage you, I challenge you to start thinking about how you can utilize those individuals around you to help you achieve that GOAL. And if you don't have the right individuals around you who may be on that right trajectory, perhaps this meeting on January 7th through 8th of 2022 is the place you need to be, especially to get your 2022 off to a great year. But if you don't want to wait until then, Ann McNeil, perhaps you can give us a plug about how they can start this mastermind journey today.
Well, I always like talking about the GOLD. And because Napoleon Hill tells us, he says, the accumulation, let's talk about money. The accumulation of great fortunes, he tells us, calls for power. And I'd like to say great power is acquired through the mastermind process and the organized effort of individuals who specialize in their knowledge in every single area of their lives. And that knowledge does not need to be in the possession of the person who's aspiring to have the GOLD. So every year we come together in a mastermind meeting to bring our GOALS in writing in our spiritual, family, financial, education, health, personal development, our businesses or your career, the recreational area, the civic area, and the creative area of our lives. And we write these goals for 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And for me, I'm in that 40th year, taking those GOALS, turning them into GOLD, and teaching others how to do the same with this event that we host. So we want to encourage everybody who's listening, register now, don't wait, because the investment will be going up. Invest in yourself, write your goals, find an accountability partner, write your vision for your future, for your family, and your finances. And so this is what this event is all about. And actually, Mr. Dowridge, we're going to really look forward to seeing you to join us. We'll talk about that offline. But that's really the long story, very short, about this event. And as you can see from the information, we'll put the link in the chat. You can join us now in terms of registering and continue to actually start writing that process. Now, I'm not sure, did we already have the question from Galen? So I was going to put that in the chat, but I want to make sure we circle back around and
Yeah, we're all feeling the pain for Galen. He wants to get get in on this conversation so bad. Come on, Galen, it's your turn. Well, you got to come off mute.
I said, no, I am GOOD. So this has been a great conversation. I've learned a lot. It's just been, just a great demonstration of how, specialized knowledge. And I like the way that Napoleon Hill actually titled this chapter. He says it's specialized knowledge, personal experience, and observation. So I think that this is a great example of how you can leverage your personal experience, your observations, in order to create that specialized knowledge that's required to generate GOLD. So back to you guys.
Wow. Does that mean Galen is slightly speechless? How can that
never write this date down? That or he meant his math.
Wow. Okay, so you'll get another turn just in a second. One of the things that I just wanted to say about specialized knowledge as it relates to Mr. Dowers that I know that he's multi-talented and can do so many different things. People may wonder, which one is your specialty? And when I thought about it, I said, okay, so he specializes in educating through entertainment. And that brings in all of your speaking skills, your performance skills, your story that you have from back in the day. Um, would that be accurate?
Yeah, and you know, when you said I use my education through um, entertainment, allow me to bring James Brown in,
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah, okay.
I'm bringing James Brown in because of the fact that when I first saw James Brown on the Ed Sullivan Show, and when he came in, and I mean, after the introduction, and he walked down that walkway, and he said, "Ow!" and he started dancing. And right away, at 7 years old, I jumped up and I said, "That's what I want to do. That's who I want to be. I want to be like him." And through the years, I worked on it, and even to the fact that God is so good because in 1996, I had the opportunity to audition for the Temptations, and it was I would have went, but the mere fact that God had already gave me my mission, but I wanted to just see if I could do it, and then it moved on to the fact that we was on a cruise and you got 5,000 people sitting out in the audience, and I won the talent show, and I get up and I do James Brown. And the mere fact that now God has opened up another door where I had the opportunity to be on The Wire, that was on HBO. And then shortly after that, he gives me Frederick Douglass. And Frederick Douglass more or less has become, as Ursula says, another teaching tool. And basically, it's funny because I wake up one morning and I'm brushing my teeth and I hear Frederick Douglass 3 times. And, when Mr. Hill talks about decision, procrastination, one thing I didn't do, I did not procrastinate, and I did not ask the question, "Who, me? You want me to do that? No, I can't do that." No, what I did, I brushed my teeth, got my clothes on, and I went on down to the Performing Arts Center. And when I didn't know there was another nugget, a gold nugget sitting there, since we saying GOLD, there was another gold nugget sitting there when I went in that office and I spoke to the young lady, and she said, "Oh, Mr. Dowridge, I love what you're doing. I will give you the theater. You don't have to pay for it. We'll give it to you because we love what you're bringing to the table, and we know that a lot of people will be educated through that." So that was just stepping out on an idea and bringing that idea to life. Now, and Ursula has seen me perform with the group that I perform in, which is Soul to Soul. So using all these talents, inside of me using the talents, the crust is the specialized knowledge that I'm putting out through the talents, if you will. So I said the crust. So when you bite into a pie, and I love apple pie, when you bite into that pie and them apples are doing that thing in with your taste buds, that's cool. But you can't have the apples in one spot if you don't have the overlay, which is I guess I forget what they call it, but the overlay of the pie, the crust. So inside of that crust, you got the meat, you got the knowledge that's sitting inside of it. So, hey, oh, he's Frederick Douglass. But then when it's all said and done, it's like, wow, sir, if I didn't know any better, I swear you were Frederick Douglass. That is the crust. Not the crust, but the apples inside that is being disseminated through the specialized knowledge.
Okay. On that note, here's what we're going to do. My co-hosts need to let everybody know how to get in touch with them, and as well as you. And while they're doing this, someone has given you another nugget. Don't respond. Just think about this thing. You're now being considered Moses in the 10 Commandments. Now chew on that for a little bit. All right. Galen, tell people how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, so a great conversation. Lots of ways to get a hold of me on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram. But I want to encourage everyone to not only go to my podcast, Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership, but I've been encouraged to do another masterclass. So I do a masterclass on Think and Grow Rich. I usually only do it once a year. We just completed the program that we were planning to do for this year. We had such significant success, over 500% of our goal achieved in 10 weeks, that the group said, Galen, you've got to do this again. I've got some friends, I know some people, I've got some relatives that need to have this experience. So we're going to put in the link. There is a link that you can go to sign up via Eventbrite. It's a small investment, but literally you can achieve 500% just following the principles of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. That's what we're going to do. And we've shortened the program. We're going to see if we can execute this entire process in 5 weeks instead of 10. So that's it for me, and look forward to seeing everyone at the next cohort of the masterclass.
Thank you. And Dr. Peter.
Yeah, great show. Great show. GREAT show for sure. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach, helping you to shift your mindset. You can find me on any social media platform at Dr. Peter A. James. That's at DRPETERAJAMES, or at shiftyourmindset.com. Stay connected, stay on your upward trajectory, and look to surround yourself with like-minded individuals who are going to help get you there. Thank you, Ursula.
Thank you. And
Thank you. Yes. I'm still on the GOAL and the GOLD. And if you would like to have both, you can connect with me. Oh, I just love it. You can text me at 55678. That's 55678. And we will quickly respond with some information about the 6 keys to riches. And again, phenomenal show. Thank you so very, very much for blessing us today. Actually, now to do Moses, we're going to look forward to that. Thank you.
And to Moses' descendant, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, first of all, allow me to say I'm so glad that I went up to the burning bush and had that secret conversation with God, so I could come down and be able to split the sea so that my people could be moved to be free. Hallelujah. So with that said, basically, I am planted throughout the social media. I have my new website should be posted up shortly. www.dld enterprises. And just thank you all for the opportunity to be on your wonderful show this morning. And yes, I will continue to think and grow rich. And not only that, but I will continue to use my GOAL to bring in more GOLD.
Oh, wow. We'll pause for a moment because that was such a great moment. Thank you. And I am Ursula Odom, CEO of Sula 2, and we make old new in everything that we do, and that we capture, preserve, and present legacy information. And I must say that, Donald, you provided an opportunity for me, because that day that you performed at the Performing Arts Center, I was on program as well. And I got to hear someone go Ursula. That was a moment for me. So thank you for opening that door. Loved it. And you can get in touch with me at sula2.com. And also, I have a Mary McLeod Bethune, because I betray her, YouTube playlist that I would love for you to go and like, share, and ring that bell, as well as Wisdom and Young Legends. And we're putting the links in the chat. So, with the spelling of the day, we have reached this GOAL in pursuit of the GOLD, and go pursue yours this week and come back for the next chapter of Think and Grow Rich live next Saturday. Take care.